I don't know about you, but I hate having poor lighting in my shop environment. Dude, you're getting old. And hey, also, if I'm recording videos for you guys, I gotta make sure I have good lighting. So let me show you what I had in my garage shop 9 years ago when I bought my house, what I updated to 9 years ago, and what I'm updating to today. I love all things electrical, which frankly most people hate. Yesterday, I was at work tuning in a low-pass filter and a PID control loop for a system on a product that I work with. And today I'm out here changing lights in my garage. Electrical is fascinating. You shouldn't be scared of it. You need to learn about it. This is just the first of many electrical related videos to come. So if there's something you're particularly interested in, drop a comment down below and we'll see what we can do. So when I bought my house, the garage shop had 8 of these porcelain fixtures with a simple 60 watt equivalent light bulb mounted in each of these locations. So you could about imagine that was not going to work for me. It was dark, it was dingy, I needed more light. So right away I added 9 of these LED fixtures, which are approximately 9,000 lumens a piece. You can see I still have some installed over here on this side of the garage. And I also have some installed still over the top of my bench. Several of them are starting to do this flashing. And I think what's happening is the LED driver inside of the actual device, I believe these are probably starting to go bad. Now, aside from the lights flashing, when I was recording some videos in the garage here over the summer, I really noticed that in certain areas it was really kind of dingy and not bright. So given these two things, of flashing lights and dingy in my garage, it was my personal excuse to do another upgrade. So after doing a bunch of searching in stores and internet and Amazon, of course, I'm gonna switch from these lights to those lights. Now these lights in particular I picked for a variety of reasons, so let me show you on the bench with one. These are actually a high bay light, and my garage is probably borderline of what you need to use these, but I'm gonna do it anyways. What I really liked about these lights was really 3 main things. Number 1, they have adjustable color temperature between 5,000 and 4,000 Kelvin. The other thing I really like is they have adjustable wattage or power, which in the end it's adjustable brightness or lumens. So they have it rated between 200, 150, and 100 watts, which on an LED fixture is a lot of power and a lot of brightness. I think on the 200 watt rating, it's 25,000 lumens. It is extremely bright. Probably brighter than I'll ever need, but go big or go home. So the other thing that I really liked about these fixtures is the actual LED panels themselves are adjustable. Now I will throw an Amazon affiliate link down below. Yes, I bought them from Amazon, but if you want to see what I'm using, they actually had some different power ratings. I bought these in packs of, I think it was 4. They came in packs of 2, etc. I did actually order 10 fixtures total so that I had a couple extras in case I ever have problems with these, and I got a couple replacements that are exact matches. Call me crazy, probably, but then I got them. So being high bay fixtures, these are intended to be hung up, and so they do send a long chain, and they've got these cutest little carabiners. They're like keys for Keebler Elf, I think. But because I don't have an extremely high ceiling, I'm actually using eye bolts in the ceiling and then putting the suspension directly through it so that I can get them nice and close to the ceiling, almost like a surface mount. Now, no, I'm not just taking these fixtures down that I had up there and throwing them away. Like a good farmer, I'm gonna reuse them. So I'm gonna take them down and put them in my mechanical room and some other places in my house or maybe out in my barn. So the first most important thing, turn off the breaker. Now, fortunately in my garage, the lights over the top of my bench are wired separately than the lights out in the main garage, so I can leave those on while I work on the ones above my bench, and then I'll flip-flop. So we need to reach up, and on these particular fixtures, you squeeze the sides, and that's what's gonna loosen up this LED panel on the bottom and swing this down out of the way with all the bugs. Now on these fixtures, the LED panel is held on by these couple clips, one on each side, and also a ground wire. So even though we turn the breaker off, we're still gonna check for power. We always check for power, no matter what. You always have to protect yourself with electrical. So let's undo the wire nuts and uncouple the wires. Let's get the wires untwisted and ready to pull the fixture down. So these fixtures are held up with 2 screws. and they go into a slotted location on the fixture. So all we have to do is get those screws loosened up and we can slide this whole fixture off. Just like that. So I installed wire nuts on the wires on both sides, and I actually went down and turned the breaker back on, and I turned the switch on temporarily because I wanted to 100% verify that when this was wired, they wired it properly with the right colors, having power versus neutral. So I wanted to verify that my black did in fact have power and my neutral or my white was correct, and they are. So now that I know, I'll turn it back off and we'll start talking about how to assemble these lights and what my plan is. The trusses on my ceiling run this direction, and I've already gone up with my stud finder and come across by the junction box so that I could see, was it on this side or was it on this side, and I marked it. So when I go back up to put in my eye bolts, I can put one here and I can put one here. I can put one over here, and then I'll be able to hang the light. Now when I put those eye bolts, I'm gonna make sure that they're out far enough that they're beyond this cabinet. So probably I'll have the back end of it about 12 inches out from the wall, and then I've got a 24-inch fixture, and that'll help to prevent shadows on my bench when I'm working on stuff. Plus, again, they're adjustable so I can tip them either direction and make them shine however I want to make sure I get nice, good coverage up here. So tools and parts we're gonna use to finish up this job. So I need to have a knife to be able to cut my cable that I'm gonna use to drop down from my junction box into my light. I've got plate covers for my junction boxes. I've got strain relief to make sure that they're secure. I've got my eye bolts. Need to be able to measure where I'm gonna put the eye bolts at, mark them, strip the wire, and then long screwdriver for when we put those eye bolts in, we can twist that eye bolt into place. And when we go to put the eye bolt in, we will pre-drill those holes. And then we will take those eye bolts and we're gonna hang them direct to that fixture. So first let's take and prep our plates for our junction box. So we gotta get our knockouts knocked out here, and then we'll put in our strain reliefs. So we're gonna drop our strain relief into those center holes. And get the screws all the way loosened up. So next let's get our knockout in for the light. I have been putting it in the plate that's removable. The other thing we can do as long as we're in here is we'll get the wires pulled out for the fixture itself. Now this fixture came equipped with some of the friction style connectors. Most people would know these as a Wago connector, as in the Wago brand of connector. I actually don't particularly care for these, at least in this situation. I am using a stranded wire when I go to put these on, and I don't feel it makes good contact in here and good restraint. So I'm gonna take and cut these off, and we're just gonna put traditional wire nuts on. So let's get our strain relief installed onto the fixture. So next we'll go get our eye bolts drilled in so that we can get a measurement between the junction box and the cover plate and where the fixture is gonna sit, and make sure we know exactly how much cable we need to cut before we go up. So we're gonna set our marks at 15 inches, which is right by the junction box, and 39 inches. And what that's gonna do is it gives us 15 inches off the wall, and the fixture is right at about 24 inches. So we can get that fixture out away from the wall, away from the cabinets and the shelf here, and make sure that we get that light down on the bench. Now we need to make sure we know where the truss is so that our eye bolt hits the truss, which right next to the junction box, I know where that's at because in the junction box, I already checked which side, but I do need to come down here and check with my stud finder so that we can find it. Now we need to drill our holes, and we'll try to make them as straight as possible so that the eye bolts go in as straight as possible. I like to get up to the truss wood and then stop, and then I can make sure my drill is as vertical as possible. Forgot to put my safety glasses on. I'll be okay. I had to pause and jam for a minute. Summer of '69's on the radio. So I had to go down and get my eye bolts. We'll get those started by hand, and then we'll use that long screwdriver to get them threaded all the way up into that truss. So there, it's getting tight. Move those wires out of my way. Try to get them in line with each other. So now I can get a really good estimate of my cable length that I'm gonna need. So I know I'm gonna be 12 inches off, and I wanna make sure I have a little curly Q to get up into the fixture and into that strain relief. So I'll probably add 4 inches on there. And I'll probably come over here and add the same thing, 4 inches on, to be able to give me a little bit of flex. I'm actually gonna cut it just a little bit longer. I said 20, I think I'm gonna go 22. Better to always have it just a little bit long, and I can trim it later. I have enough cable here, I just checked. Take and get the sheathing off of the cable. Be real careful. So I'm gonna do the light fixture side first. So let's go ahead and get our wires stripped. This is 14 gauge cable, by the way. Completely unnecessary in theory, because of I'm only doing a maximum of 200 watts, which at 120 volts is amp and a half, couple amps. But the circuit's 15 amp, 14 gauge can run 15 amps. Got to keep things correct. So let's get our wire nuts put on. Put just a tiny twist on it so I can keep those two together. Hold the base so I can make sure I get it way down in the wire nut. And we'll get it with a little bit of twist on the cable to make sure it's got some strain relief. So let's get our wires tucked in. We'll get our plate and our strain relief put back on. Actually drop the strain relief down from the other end of the cable. Yes, I just spent 5 minutes looking for that darn screw. Forgot where I put it. It was stuck down there in the light. Let's also get our strain relief tightened up on our cable. Now I'm guessing I'm gonna have an electrician tell me I'm using the wrong cable. I believe I technically by code should be using a metallic sheathed cable here versus I think I'm using a SJTO or SJWW. I don't remember what exactly the cable is. I just know that it is 14 gauge because I wanted to make sure that it was rated for the proper amperage. But hey, give me some credit. At least I'm using some strain reliefs. Get the other end of our cable stripped and prepped for installing up top. Let's hang it and get it wired up. I'm going to take and pass my hook up and over, get it hooked on this end, grab my other hook, pass it through my eye bolt, and there we go. So now before I touch the wires, make sure you always check them first. I know it's off, but you always check them. You're better safe than sorry. When I worked in construction, I sadly dealt with multiple electrical fatalities, and it's not worth it. Check your wiring first. So I put the plate over the top of the black cable and just slid it down so it's out of my way. Give me a chance to come over here and make these 3 junctions up. I'm actually going to shorten these up just a little bit. Wires are pretty long. So let's wire up our black and get that stranded up just a little bit higher to make sure that kind of gets into the tip of the wire nut. Get a little twist to it. Get the white or our neutral, and then let's get our ground. Okay, I'm gonna give each of the joints a pull, make sure they're on secure. Now let's get our cables pushed up into the junction box, and we'll get our plate over the top. This is one of my Klein tool ratcheting screwdrivers. Really convenient for jobs like these. Really like that one. So now let's tighten up our cable clamps. Make sure that cable's got some good strain relief on it, so if it gets hit, it's not pulling on the wire nut joints. Lastly, we're going to make sure that we have this set the way we want. Over to the left on the right button is 5,000 Kelvin for color, and over to the far right is 100 watts. I'm going to try that to start. One of them hung and wired. I'm going to work on the next one and I'll show you the finished product. We got them both installed. Let's kick them on and see how bright this thing is. That is bright. I love it. So that's 5,000 Kelvin color temperature and 100 watts on each light. That's the lowest they will go. So this turned out exactly how I wanted it. This bench is lit up just incredibly bright now. Just like the sunshine outside, I am suddenly more motivated to come out here and work on things. I do have 3 more fixtures that I need to put up in the garage, but you get the gist of what we were doing. And quite frankly, I ran out of parts. I didn't realize I didn't have enough cable clamps, and I'm also 2 eye bolts short. I don't know, girl math maybe. Hopefully you enjoyed this, you learned something, or at least got some entertainment out of it. If you did enjoy it, I'd encourage you to hit the like button. That does help me in the channel. Subscribe, come back for more videos. There's much more to come. If you have any comments or questions, drop them down in the comments section below. I'd appreciate it. I will see you on the next video. Stay curious, friends.